Hello and welcome to the International CONFEX webinar series. My name is Martin Fullard. I'm the editorial director at MASH Media, editor of Conference News and many other things beside. Today I'm joined by my good friends and colleagues on One Industry, One Voice, Rick Stainton, Group Executive Director at Smile, the full creative service agency, and Simon Hughes, Chair of the Business Visits and Events Partnership. And today we're going to be telling you a little bit more about We Create Experiences and One Industry, One Voice, how the two differ and how we are going to inspire the nation to experience events again. So Simon, I thought I would start with you just so we can make it absolutely clear in the minds of our audience. What is One Industry, One Voice?
Okay, Martin, great to be here today, and glad to have Rick sitting next to me, as it's all his fault. No, it's not. Rick came to me after that Senior Leaders Emergency Summit the MASH Media organised, and said, listen, we've got to do something about the situation we're in. And from a kind of trade association point of view, I absolutely agreed that what we needed to do is let the industry lead on bringing together everybody so that we had a really unified and collaborative set of campaigns, businesses, associations, and individuals across the industry. So simply put, One Industry, One Voice looks at coordinating campaign timings, because we're full of creative people, and lots of people set to and started to campaign for specific things as a result of lockdown and the COVID-19 pandemic. We realised very early on that everybody was quoting different numbers. It was like, okay, we need some consistency here if we're actually going to be believed by anybody. So getting consistency of data and numbers and statistics to reflect accurately for the first time the whole of the event industry. We also realised from a campaigning point of view, we needed to align what people were asking for, when they were asking for it, and how they were communicating and who they were communicating to in government. So that was another important part of it. And also we could then share information, share knowledge, share understanding, and amplify key messaging and provide mutual support to the various campaigns that have popped up. Now, one of the really important bits of that whole process was we went to people, Rick in particular, got on the phone. He was probably on the phone for about 8 days straight, and he phoned up everybody he knew in the industry. Then he started phoning up everybody he didn't know in the industry, and he created an amazing mandate, because pretty much 99% of everybody spoken to said, we agree that we need a stronger voice, a single voice, and what's more, we agree on our top priorities are to educate people, inspire people, and reassure people, give them confidence that they can come back to experiences and events. And that mandate has really carried us through the last 6 months or so since we got it going. So One Industry, One Voice has a task force, is looking at some of the key areas that are the barriers to us getting back into business at the moment. And lots of the campaigns that we've been supporting and sharing with and collaborating with have been very much focused at government support and getting the government to think about how they can improve the loans, improve some of the business rate situations, improve discretionary grants and things like that. So we said there needs to be at the other end of this something that just simply reminds people how marvellous events are and how fantastic and fundamental it is that we as human beings share experiences with each other, and events create those experiences. And so that's the campaign that we're really looking forward to launching next week. And we've been doing quite a lot of work around teasing things out about it this week. But Rick's the man to talk to about We Create Experiences, but hopefully that's given you a clear view of One Industry, One Voice.
I think it gives us a very clear view, absolutely. So I think just to remind everyone, Simon, what are the actual campaigns that are kind of under the One Industry, One Voice banner before we come to We Create Experiences?
So we've got We Make Events, we've got the Nighttime Economy, Let the Nightlife Live. I'm going to get all of these wrong, you know. You didn't
Save Nightlife.
Say what?
Save Nightlife.
Save Nightlife. Oh, thank God you're here, Rick. We've got Let the Music Play. So that's the kind of live music and venues sector. We've got the folks from exhibition and trade shows with their one, Rick, which is called
Project Recovery.
Project Recovery. Fantastic. And of course, we've got We Create Experiences, as well as, who have I left off?
Save Live Comedy.
Save Live Comedy. The comedians need saving as well. So we're very pleased about that. I think, is that
What About Weddings?
What about weddings? That's a great title for a campaign. So basically, in fact, let's just think about that, the weddings thing, because that's a good story, isn't it, Rick? The weddings. Weddings didn't really get recognised by a vast majority of the industry, even though on the supply side, you've got loads of folks who supply kit and supply services to weddings on a regular basis, but also do corporate stuff. They also do trade shows. They do outdoor stuff. And we hadn't really recognised how important they were. As a result of One Industry, One Voice, supporting people in the wedding industry, they've now been asked officially by Paul Scully, the Minister for Small Business at Bayes, to set up a task force for the wedding industry. Now that's an outcome for them, which is really good, because they felt that they were being completely unrecognised by government. But now they've got a kind of routine and a pathway to kind of follow in order to kind of, plead their cause, because of all the people, weddings have been so severely limited. It's unbelievable. But their contribution in economic terms is massive on an annual basis. And if you think about it, there's an experience right there. It's a big, lifetime experience getting your wedding right. So there's been fascinating drawing together, whether it's weddings or mass participation sport, whether it's trade show organisers, whether it's the people in the outdoors with festivals or county shows, all the way through to kind of education and charities. I mean, the numbers on the charities, Rick's got the number in his head, 4.8 billion, isn't it? They've lost, Rick. I think it's something like that.
That was in the first 3 months. So we're now 8 months in. So
and that's money that they're not raising, which is addressing fundamental societal ills like cancer and like child cruelty and the Macmillan nurses folks. They're not getting money to do critical work, and it's going to take them a long time to recover from that.
That's isn't it? Everyone just sometimes just take for granted just how deep rooted the industry is. It does cover absolutely everything. The charity angle's a really important one. So Rick, I think this is a kind of cue really to bring you in, just to sort of explain to our audience what exactly We Create Experience is and sort of how that fits under the One Industry, One Voice umbrella. What's the top line message that people can kind of get a better understanding of what it's all about?
Thanks, Martin. Appreciate the opportunity to speak today. So when we got the founding supporters across all the main trade associations, hundreds of businesses, freelancers from all the different sort of walks of life, from the organisers and the agencies through to the supply chain, partner suppliers, freelancers, One Industry, One Voice was set up, as Simon explained, for that coalition to get other campaigns involved and work together. But we also reached out to them and said, what are the three things in a positive message way you feel needs to be said? And they were very key. They were, Simon sort of said, educate the national press, the government, the public on what we actually do. Because we're still perceived for decades to have sort of jollies in ties, or just piss-ups, or the sort of the music stuff is just piss-ups, and exhibitions are misunderstood, outdoor events, the expertise that goes into them, the power of events to educate, to communicate, to celebrate, inspire innovation, support society with obviously the charity elements, and grow value to businesses, because most key agencies and key operations through the supply chain as well put forward content strategies to actually change behavior. That's the design behind most business events. So we wanted the education piece. So people really understood the £84 billion economy, the 1.5 million event professionals that work in it, and our global expertise. The UK is the best event industry in the world. It's renowned for our creativity, our production values, and our health and safety. So that was the first point. The second point is they wanted to inspire, have a positive campaign with content. So we've collated a lot of that. We've got some high profile personalities as well, which we can talk about in a minute. And the third point, as Simon also sort of hinted at, was the reassurance. Health and safety, organised audiences, logistics, crowd management is in our DNA. It's what we've done for decades. We're experts at that, probably better than any other industry. So we can, with an extra layer of requirement from the biosecurity protocols and the all secure guidelines the government has given us and worked through in conjunction with several associations within the industry, we can deliver safely. We are experts and able to track and trace and registration, control one-way systems, sanitized area, social distancing as required. This is almost like another layer of normality to us. through our communication, planning, and management skills. So reassure, educate, and inspire. Across the power events, as I mentioned, those 4 or 5 key elements that the events can deliver, and represent those main 7 sectors that we've talked about. First of all, though, We Create Experiences are going to focus on business events. So that's very much, conferences, product launches, experiential activations, exhibitions, charity fundraisers, award ceremonies, press events, and fashion shows type of things, where it's more of a B2B brand-led and delivered and funded event. And then in the January, we'll be focusing on a more consumer-orientated for the other side of the industry, which we didn't do on the B2B, which obviously is more cultural, sport and music and outdoor festivals and so on. So effectively we've brought together a huge amount of content from across all the supporters. I say there's hundreds of businesses now, all the main associations. We raised a PR fund. We had a target of £30,000. We're now at over 55,000, I believe, for funding a PR campaign. We need to obviously, unfortunately, pay for that to help get our message across to the right channels within the business community. And everyone has contributed to that, and some that couldn't afford to, which is totally understandable, have contributed in time or support across social media channels and just insight or content in other ways, which is as helpful. So we have a whole range of celebrities and high-profile supporters. We have amazing content. We've teased some of the celebrities across the One Industry, One Voice social media channels over the first Monday, I think it started, and we've had about 60,000 views now, I think, of those, and that's just the teasers of some of the contributors. So we've had CEOs of charities like Macmillan Cancer Support, NSPCC, Spinal Injuries Associations, Rotary International, Cancer Research, Riding for the Disabled. We've had the likes so far of Johnny Wilkinson, of Tom Kerridge, Harvey Goldsmith. Who else have we had? David Gower. And there are as big names coming very soon in the next few days. And there's about 14 of them within the main video, which we profiled yesterday at the Major Event Summit, and will be released officially on Monday as the launch of the campaign across the We Create Experiences website, social media channels, and other obviously channels as people share it. And the idea obviously is to get businesses the call to action to start planning now. You've got a 3 to 6 month lead up of serious business events. And if you think that confidence can return into end of Q1, beginning of Q2, as most people are musing, could some sort of normality return or a new different, then you need to start planning now and engaging with you in industry, getting their insight, support, briefing them, putting budget aside. So that's the call to action.
Yeah, well, we're going to come back to the launch and what we actually want people to do in a few moments. But Simon, I thought I'd just come back to you for a moment. On One Industry, One Voice, the bigger picture, it's achieved a unity that many of us have never seen before, completely unprecedented. Do you think that this unity is something that we as an industry can sustain long term moving forward?
Well, that's a great question. I would hope so, but it's going to take some hard work, I think. And I'll tell you why. It's quite clear already that some of the campaigns who've relied very heavily on voluntary support for activations are finding that they're not going to do so many activations at the moment because the supporters are all going off and doing work. Or beginning to. And so there is the danger, I think, of everybody kind of sliding back into their little silos in their particular industry sector and going, well, that was all great, let's crack on now. We've got to try and earn a crust after, almost a year of nothing. But I think, taking the kind of view that we have, which is our industry is in a terrible state. We, the leaders of that industry, need to come together and do something about it. I think that could possibly sustain if we really stick to our knitting, if you like, because we've seen the value of actually bringing everybody together. Instead of having lots of small little mini explosions, we're creating a kind of much larger explosion by bringing together the power of all the different elements within our industry. And also the advantages that we're gaining, I think, about the education piece, about the collaboration piece. People can see the benefits and the outputs of what we're doing. And my instinct is we've got to keep it going in some form. So how that happens, why that happens, who's organising, we don't know. We're not clear yet. But I think we've got a pretty good view that, if we want a roadmap to recovery, we still need to keep putting our case, educating, inspiring, reassuring. We're going to keep having to do that for quite a long time. And it's a great vehicle for that, certainly. I always remember meeting the head of Germany's kind of event industry, and they have one big trade association that covers everybody in Germany in the event sector. And he said, when I told him how many association members I had in the BVEP and then how many other associations there are in the UK, probably 50 plus, I would guess, he just laughed and said, why, we only have one. And, in typical German, that was a German accent, Rick. In typical German, they're very organized, and, they've got the ecosystem, they've got the structures, they've got the facilities. And they've been clearly recognised by the German government, who work quite hard with them in terms of test events and interesting things like that. So there's definite need, I think, to improve the profile and the voice, and keeping it as one thing too. I think it makes life easier for everybody.
Do you think that's what we need to be working towards then? One kind of more overarching association, but then I guess with that, does there need to be one specifically for business events and one for the more kind of cultural music side, or does one kind of cover all?
Well, I think a lot of people in the industry have often questioned why we've got caught up in tourism. We know why historically, and it's all about the visitor economy and our contribution to that, and that's what gets measured, therefore that's what gives us value. The reality is, though, I think increasingly there is an opportunity to say, okay, actually, we should perhaps be coming into another department in government, and that could be business, environment and industrial strategy. We contributed to the industrial strategy as business events, and some of the stuff that we contributed is quite a significant part of that strategy, which was then approved against a lot of competition. Tourism got in there, and we were part of that kind of that program. So perhaps moving, if you like, the really business focused elements of the event industry into bays, and keeping the culturally focused elements of the industry in DCMS could be the way to go. Subject to, obviously to a lot of discussion, but it could be the way to go. And also, if you look at some of the some of the models that are out there, UK Sport, one single entity that represents all the different sporting bodies, UK Music, one single entity. The benefit for both parties in there is that, if we think of UK Music, at one point the government was having to listen to promoters and venue owners, and people who collected license money and MCPS, PRS, all of those kind of people, and the authors and the composers. That was all very confusing, but actually UK Music gave them a kind of single focus. So all the associations in our industries would still function, just like all the sporting bodies still function, but they've got one voice in terms of UK Sport, or it's music, it's UK Music. What is that a bad idea? I don't think it is. I think having one voice for one industry, even though you might sit them in two bits of government, and the other thing is the way government works, it's actually probably quite a good thing to have for your feet in different camps in government, because being in one department is very, very limiting, I think, and often we find people haven't spoken to each other. It's classic. I'm not saying that the government works in silos, but my God, does the government work in silos? And
oh God, I think this is supposed to be a positive discussion. We'll have that another day. Rick, let's come back to you, because now we're really starting to get excited about the 7th of December next week. So maybe just remind us, 7th of December, We Create Experiences is kicking off. How can people support leading up to this date, and what can we look forward to on the day and in the days that follow?
Thanks. Yeah, Martin. Well, we've done some teasers this week, as I say, from some of the high profile support and some of the surveys that we've done. We've got a lot of very interesting data. We interviewed over 50 global brands with their views on sort of events and so on. We've used some of that across some of the data as well. And it's really quite exciting when they consider that, just reading out, sort of 96% of the business leaders say that events and experiences add value. 93% say the absence of live events since the start has had a detrimental impact on their staff engagement. 3/4 say the absence of live events since the start of the pandemic has had detrimental impact on the marketing of their business. So, we know that there is a real need to go out there and restore some confidence in the market, because they really do want to get back. So we've had a number of those stats come across, a number of the high profile 30-seconders to sporting events over the last 3 or 4 days. I say it had 60,000 plus views. That will continue with a countdown to the 7th of December. On the 7th of December, we've got the main video, which has all the sort of high-profile celebrities. It's got a huge amount of content across all the aforementioned business events, some key little stats in there. Got a customized track in there. I think I probably revealed Claire Balding does the voiceover for it. There's another sort of 12, 13 high-profile celebrities from music, sport, and showbiz, and some of the CEOs of charities in there contributing as well, which is great. And we're expecting that to get a huge amount of visibility. We've also obviously got a lot of our PR agency has coordinated some regional interviews across media and in broadcast and print from all the main regions of the UK, which is really important to us. So we've got Northern Ireland and Wales and Scotland, north of England, Midlands, southwest, and so on. Apologies if I missed one, but yeah, it's covered, we hope. That's the plan, at least. For sort of doing interviews, restoring, obviously, the faith and the understanding in our industry, getting the message across of safety and our expertise, as well as the power of events. But if people want to get engaged, I'd love them to follow on the 121 Voice channels, retweet, share. And if there's one thing you can do on the 7th, it's what we're calling One Message, One Day, where you share and hashtag We Create Experiences, tagging in obviously whichever channel you're on of the 121 Voice social media channels. Share that one image or that one video of the event that you really have missed not being able to deliver in 2020, that you're looking forward to delivering in 2021. So that what historically you did, whether it's an award ceremony, an exhibition, a large press launch type of event, whatever it might be, that you delivered last year, you wanted to deliver this year and you couldn't, an image or a video, just post it, hashtag We Create Experiences, and hopefully that will show the breadth of the industry and how much they're looking forward to looking after their clients and their audiences again into 2021. So yeah, please do that. Share a video, share an image. We Create Experiences, use the hashtag, and on these channels, tag in 131 Voice. We're across Twitter, obviously, Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn. And that will be the one way you could really help, as well as just following the teasers and the content that will be on the 131 Voice channels leading up to and then on the 7th.
Thanks, Rick. And obviously, just a note to our audience, if you've got a question for Rick or Simon, do pop them in the Q&A box. I was about to point over there, but none of you know that I've got a second screen over there, so very confusing. Rick, so that's the B2B campaign, which is, I've been involved with it. It's phenomenally exciting. Can you give us a hint or a flavour of what we can expect from the more B2C campaign that you mentioned earlier that will be hopefully kicking off in January at some point?
Well, I mean, look, what's come out of 121 Voice is, as Simon's mentioned, is we have Let the Music Play and Save Live Comedy and Save Nightlife and, the likes of the EIF and so on, all within our 121 Voice coalition. So we're engaging a lot with the music industry and the outdoor events and festival industry and comedy and theatre. So we're galvanising, just beginning to, if you let us get to the 7th so my brain can clear and the rest of us can just make sure that goes okay. But we'll then have a good platform momentum to hopefully then leverage our friends now, or closer friends, I should say, in the industry to help support with content and hopefully some high profile endorsements from some personalities as well, some of which we already have, to be fair. We've got a number of people from sort of showbiz, TV, music, and a few influencers as well already bought in, which we're not using for the B2B. We thought it's better to just keep them back for the B2C, but we'll want to get quite a few more. We've got some very sort of high level leaders in concert promotion, sports promotion, rights holders, and so on. So quite excited about that, and it will very much be a January campaign to let the public know and the consumers know that the events industry will be open and we are ready and it will be safe. And again, remind them, as we had perhaps more the business community before, the power of events to celebrate and to share with your community, whether it's charity events as well, be involved in that, the mass participation side, which a lot of society needs, from the fundraising to support the vulnerable in society. So that will be a feature. So it'll be music, sport, cultural and charity. And we'll probably do another call to action then for them to hashtag We Create Experiences of the events that they've missed, sharing with their family and friends and so on. And I think there's an underlying message here as well of well-being and mental health. We've engaged with Professor John Jury, who's a senior lecturer at the University of Sussex and also on the SAGE subgroup. And he's an expert in behavioural psychology and also the psychology about how crowds behave, as well as how they benefit from a mental health and motivation perspective on sharing experiences with their friends, their family, their colleagues as a community, and the endorphins, the oxytocins, the well-being, the motivation that they feel from both that live experience and then memories and sharing it from a wider perspective. So I think there's quite a lot on that as well that we would sort of reassure people that they can look forward to something into 2021, and the events industry is ready to help on that basis of fun, enjoyment, sharing, as well as their mental health and well-being. So that's quite a strong element of it as well.
Don't we think, sorry, Martin, don't we think that, the support the government's been giving to local football is kind of evidence of their acknowledging how important it is. So, seeing them now able in tier 2 and tier 1, able to kind of activate again with limited crowds, obviously. But I think they have got that message from their advisors in SAGE that sharing that kind of experience at the heart of a community at that level is really important, and they actually get more bang for their buck. And the football clubs are organising these very limited outings for 1,000 or 2,000 people at cost. It's costing them money to do it, to get the extra stewarding in and make sure they've got the ground set up the right way. But they're doing it because they know how important that shared experience is in their communities and for their fans.
Well, that was the sort of question I was going to ask you, actually, Simon, because, I think you absolutely nailed it there. The government has certainly shown that it's more aware of that sort of importance of the importance of the experience in that context. But do you think that our messaging has got through about more the business events side? You've been at the sharp end of this for most of the year, and well, you're still here. You haven't got insane yet, I don't think. Do you think that we really have made progress as an industry in making our case heard to these guys?
I think we have. I think one of the things that's come out of One Industry, One Voice is we've spotted and we've surfaced amongst ourselves the kind of key barriers. So there's a big team looking at the insurance questions. We're looking at the engagement with local authorities. And again, that's just collating evidence or collating information and then kind of signposting and saying, okay, if you are a local authority and you're on the safety and advisory group and you're worried about this, the guidance you need to check is over here. So quite a simple kind of, facilitation thing. But I think it is getting through. People were taken aback when we started to kind of develop the numbers that we were developing because they moved everything on. And that's the contribution of people like weddings who've never been counted in before. It's the contribution of the all the outdoor activity and the festival activity and the live music activity. So I think they have been slightly taken aback by the scale of the industry. They hadn't quite recognised it was as big as we're now telling them it is. And so the other thing we've done just recently is a really interesting state of the nation cross-industry survey where we've looked at each different sector, if you like, and asked them questions that then give us data that we can go back to government and share with campaigns and share in some of our comms as well. And some of that data is, Rick's just mentioned the kind of well-being thing, is about people's well-being and how they've coped. And that highlights a huge pressure that's being put on people. Many people are really, really struggling at the moment, and we're seeing a lot of great work coming out of the industry in creating funds for grants to help people out, in supporting established charities like Stagehand. And, that's who we are. We're creative problem solvers. We've got a massive problem at the moment, and I think we are showing certainly people in government that we have got the answers. We're here to help, and give us a chance to do that. Look at all the Nightingales set up. How quickly was that done? It was done in some of our major venues, and it was done primarily by people who work in the exhibition contracting side. We didn't make enough noise about that. We should have gone, look, this is us. This is what we do. You've asked for a hospital, bang, you've got it in 4 days. What do you want? What's the next thing? Give us something else to do. So I think it is getting through, and certainly the kind of level of engagement I think has extended. And just yesterday we had the Major Events Summit, and we had the Secretary of State speaking at it. That might not have happened, 6 months ago. So I think they are paying a lot more attention to the industry, and they are hearing what we're saying, and they're going to hear more too. There's no doubt about it.
Excellent stuff. Right, so we've had half an hour of chin wagging, and I'm fairly sure we've covered most of the important stuff that we needed to know. So let's turn our attention to some audience questions. Caroline Jackson, as ever, always very hot on the keyboard. I'm going to throw this first question to you, Rick. Caroline reads, given a focus on diversity, equality and inclusion, can we ensure that this is mirrored in the celebrities we're using for the We Create Experiences campaign? We really want to highlight the diversity of the events industry, don't we agree? And she's very impressed with our choice of Claire Balding to get us going.
Yeah, it's a very fair point, and we did actually have this conversation pretty early on. Unfortunately, and Caroline, I'm sure will hopefully appreciate this, you can't pick and choose when you're going out to reach out to celebrities exactly which ones will say yes. But obviously we had a very wide net, and it was through favours and coercion and those that also, wanted to do it, felt it was right time. There's a lot of agents and managers and press offices that you have to sort of go through as well to get their agreement to, because obviously we're not paying them. And a lot of sort of campaign stroke brands do obviously invest in a lot to get celebrity support. So it wasn't a case of not wanting to get as diverse and inclusive representation. We do have a nice, I think, a growing number of representatives from different areas of our society, both from a sort of a race and a sex orientation. So yeah, I mean, Claire Balding obviously was chosen because she's just a fantastic broadcaster and represents a huge amount of influence over charity events. She's very strong on with Riding for the Disabled. I think she's very well known in the industry. She's very well respected. Obviously, probably the leading women broadcaster across sport, and she hosts obviously Sports Personality of the Year, which is brilliant. We also have, the likes of Angela Hartnett as well, who's one of the leading, if not the leading lady chef in the country as well. She's going to be supporting the campaign and is on the video coming up as well. We have the likes of Tim Peake and Daley Thompson and a few others like that from different areas of society and backgrounds. So, I think we are striving to do a representation. It's not as easy as it sounds. We've tried to balance that also with the representation of the charities as well, and them covering different areas of needs across the society. And they also are providing potential patrons, ambassadors that are certain, either from the more disability orientated charities or the children orientated charities, and so on. We are having to beg, steal and borrow, I'll be honest with you, with regards to asking for support, because people have their own missions, campaigns, PR profiles that they do or don't want to. We were asking several music artists, I'm about to release an album, I can't do that right now, or I'm about to release a book, or I need to do it after I release my book. And, you get into this quagmire of other commitments. But we totally adhere you, Caroline, we totally agree with you. And I'm glad that you like our Claire Balding choice as well as some of the others. And I say Claire Balding probably leads a lot of this because she's the voice of our main video as well, which you'll see on Monday.
Absolutely. That video, by the way, I've seen it. It is excellent. So do keep your eyes open for that, guys. And that will require lots of you to get involved, sharing that across every social media channel you can find. Simon, there's a question that's come into me over the chat privately. I'll try and word this, I'm not sure. It's about basically the relationship between the government departments. So the base, we call it for those who aren't sure. That's a Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. This person, Mr. Anonymous attendee, who pops up at all these events, thinks that as the business events industry, we would be much better suited to that department. Why do we still need to have a relationship with the DCMS? I'm fairly sure that's the question, how the question was being framed.
Okay. Well, I think the fundamental point is that if we live in the shadow of tourism and hospitality and the visitor economy, and there are reasonable, we can trace back why that's the case. We'll always be struggling, I think, to stand out from some of the other things that they're concerned about, whereas the business department. What's the biggest single event that's coming along in the UK? It's COP26, isn't it? Now, that's the department responsible for that event. So they've already got a real interest and a whole team of people working on that who've been working on it now for a couple of years, probably. So it kind of makes sense that business events are specifically about driving trade and business. And, I'm not saying people in a department that's full of culture and media would ever sully themselves with putting their toe in the murky water of commerce. But the guys at Bays, they love it. They're swimming in it, day in, day out. That's what they're there for. So it kind of makes sense. So I would agree with Mr. Anonymous. We've already seen what it's done for the wedding sector. Maybe that door is slightly ajar, and maybe we should be banging it down and going, "Hello, let's have a conversation about this." And again, that might be one of the things that One Industry, One Voice does take forward. Is okay, everybody. Let's look at this systemically and see whether we need to adjust. The other departments too. Department for International Trade. How many of the global leading exhibition organisers are based here in the UK? And the answer is the majority of them. We do a huge amount of business overseas, developing both outbound and inbound exports and imports. Why aren't we talking to the Department for International Trade more frequently? We are kind of engaged with them. We invite them to the Event Industry Board, and they are members of the BVEP, kind of observers. But, we need more of that kind of stuff, because that's the soft power and the hard power coming together. The business that's done, the trade that's transacted, the deals that are done, the export and the import. Thank God we haven't got something like Brexit coming along just to confuse the issue.
Oh, no, we were trying to get you the whole thing without mentioning the B word.
Oh, sorry. I've forgotten that.
There was no brief. So just my own little follow-up to that then. If we did say move to BEIS, how would we wouldn't be really able to take the cultural side with us, though? The festival promoters and all that, they would still be very much part of the DCMS community. So we would have to have that clear divide, I guess.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. But it's until we dragged everybody together because we're all being clubbed with the same COVID-19 battering ram. We had all existed separately. So to have culture in its many guises, being looked after one department, but to have a kind of really strong business focus being looked after by another, I don't see that as a problem. Especially if you have sitting in the middle a unified organisation, maybe you could call it One Industry, One Voice, who knows, that's actually bringing those two parties together and is from the industry making sure that there is fair representation and that the sharing and collaboration between those two bits of our businesses or bits of our world is effective and done correctly. So I think, I'm beginning to talk myself into this.
Good. Okay, conscious of time. So, Rick, I've got a question here for you from Michael Geetson, who I know very well, who is the MD at Agency Identity. Firstly, very well done, he says. You've achieved an awful lot in a short time, so thank you. Is the priority of the campaign to give delegates and event goers the confidence to return to live, i.e. clear guidance on how to operate will be the key, because obviously the opportunity for asking for financial support, etc., has passed. You're muted, Rick.
Yeah, sorry, dogs were barking in the background. Joys of Zoom, right? So yes, in a way it is, because the education piece and the reassurance piece both links into our expertise as our global expertise of the best UK, the best events industry in the world, I think, with regards to health and safety and logistics and crowd management, as I've already mentioned. The all secure guidelines that have been published on the government's website that were created with DCMS and several event associations in partnership are what we need to communicate to our clients and have clarity on that. And Simon and One Industry One Voice coalition have done a lot of work in getting clarification from the DCMS as they constantly keep getting updated and evolved. And I think it's important that we communicate that out to the industry and ongoing as we are. And it's obviously they're published on the government's websites and many of the several association websites as well, so that our corporate clients and so on fully understand that we understand and we can advise as experts, as we should do, of what's viable, what's legal, what's appropriate to do so. So there's a brand risk management process there, both from a global brand or individual brand perspective, but also for the benefit of the individual delegates and the confidence for them to attend as well, knowing that there are protocols in place that are tried and tested, whether it's through pilot events or whether through its the creation of them, development of them in conjunction with the events industry, not just from government's perspective. So yes, that is totally part of our education piece and also our responsibility as a grown-up industry to have that clarity and communicate it effectively to our clients so that we look like we are the experts, not just saying it.
Absolutely. And Rick, there's another question that's come in that I'm going to fire your way, and it's come from Paul Chomaru, who is up there in Newcastle, part of the Newcastle Gateshead initiative. He asks, will there be any assets available for use on social media to help push out on the 7th of December? Any images, links, maybe direct him to the social media channels?
Yeah, they'll all be on the social media channels and so on. Obviously, if, with the one message, one day orientation, obviously you can share your own image and your own video of the event that you missed organising this year that you want to organise next year. The video obviously will also be published on the We Create Experiences website as well as the social media channels. I'm not sure whether there's any opportunity between now and then to send out anything else beyond that, but if he's referencing sort of, I don't know, logos or anything like that, I mean, obviously we have these. The availability of them is probably not easy for me to distribute around the industry right now. But if anyone wants any assets like logos or anything else, email me at rick@smile.co.uk. More than happy to help on whatever you need. But at the moment, we're in sort of the teaser build-up phase, and obviously into next week, we could actually, that's not a bad shout, send out some other elements if people wanted to post them. But most of the idea is to get them shared from the main industry, One Industry One Voice channels. And
Paul, just to say, Paul, we should thank him for his support too up there. He's been really helpful getting us some local folks to do some radio stuff. So, Paul, much appreciated.
Good stuff. And I think we can extend those thanks as well to so many people having been involved with this. I think it's been humbling, isn't it, guys, really? Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to bring this webinar to a conclusion since we are out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember, 7th of December, We Create Experiences goes live. Get on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, follow One Industry, One Voice, and share out from there everything that we push across, because this really will help get our audiences back in their seats and experiencing things in 2021. Rick, Simon, thank you very much.